So if we take a look at how it is that we deploy the solution in our environment, of course, Rome was not built in a day. So what we have to do first is start with just standing it up. So just stand up the Activate solution within our conventional SLURM cluster. And then once that started, we had a need to be able to provide similar analysis, in fact, the same concept, but leveraging data that contains sensitive data, sensitive information, PHI, PII. And so all of those data are in a separate enclave, isolated from the rest of our compute environment. And as a result, what we did is we created a separate environment just for that experience, using data sets that were in some way protected or had a special data use agreement. Once we had that going, and once the community started leveraging that, we were able to extend to our Openshift cluster. And the Openshift cluster was our basically opportunity to be able to leverage containers, Kubernetes containers, within a single plane. And all of that is hosted in such a way that the containers become the native way that folks can package their work and make it available to their colleagues, make it available to the scientific community for others to use. And then what happens when we get into this mode is now we can take these personalized user workspaces, which used to be virtual machines, and we can replace them with containers. And that's what we're able to do completely within the Activate environment. So then as we leverage the next step of sophistication and maturity within the use of the product in our environment, what we're doing is we're moving to being able to use container native jobs within the environment, and then also leveraging the cloud. And Stefan, it would be wonderful if you could talk a little bit about how we achieve that within our environment.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much, Shailesh. By this idea of progression and basically starting off with containerization kind of hidden from the user in a sense, where like the user workspaces are being provided to the users as containers. And then with the idea, when we transition from walk to run, it's like we're now making containerization almost explicitly available to the users. And by it opens the door for them to see and interact with containers in a more transparent way, to then further the goal for open science and reproducibility. So then two ways to do that are by exposing the Kubernetes provider within Activate. That allows users to kind of go directly to the underlying Kubernetes environment for sending out their jobs, but also when they send out their jobs, they're doing it through containers, and so they can ensure that their work is reproducible. And then another approach is to then, alongside that Kubernetes provider, is still sort of the traditional resources that users are used to seeing, which would be the access that they've been the access to the cluster, the SLURM cluster that they've been seeing before, is still in that same place. So those two modalities remain available to the users depending on what they're comfortable with and what they would like to do for their science. And then the final step in the run is to leverage Activate's idea of a single control plane for all resources. So when it comes time for researchers to add cloud resources, those cloud resources appear right alongside the on-premise resources. So when we talk about the Openshift cluster or the Kubernetes provider, those are on-premise resources. And then if there's research need, then cloud clusters can appear right alongside them, and they have the same user experience as the on-premise resources.
And Stefan, this is really powerful, right? This ability to abstract out the different compute environments so that individuals don't need to necessarily know how to leverage each one. They don't have to know how to get their data to each location, how to make sure that they're going to get a consistent experience. And that's something that I think is so important, is what Activate has been able to enable us, is this consistent experience with an on-prem or a cloud environment so that we can really achieve this hybrid cloud environment. And in our case, when we need to burst for capacity in the cloud. So I think, once again, this is really powerful, and something that we should not, I think, underestimate is how that ease of use enables people to be able to leverage the resource without having to be concerned about the speed bumps or the obstacles, the friction of being able to know how to actually do it. And of course, for us, what's very important is that we are able to maintain now that boundary, right? That cyber secure boundary. We know that everything is consistent with how we want things to operate. So we don't have people out there trying to do things on their own. And because we provided them with a very clear way to be able to achieve this. I think that's very important.